Hi, this will be my last report from Washington before the election. We finished up last night on the floor about 1 o'clock. The Democrats were racing to get out of town. We were expected earlier, the schedule they had given us was to be in next week, but now they said because they're having so many problems, I guess, with the election, and they can't seem to get their act together to get anything done, they might as well head home. One of the things that they certainly could have done was have a vote on making sure that we don't have a tax increase on everybody on January 1st of 2011. We pushed hard for that. We had a bipartisan majority that could have voted that in, but politically they said no, they don't want to take that risk, so they left. And they said, we'll do this after the election. They left so many things on the table that they said they would do after the election. They passed a CR yesterday, which is a continuing resolution. The government funding runs out on September 30th. And so they had to pass that, and they did it to continue at last year's spending, which was somewhat of a victory for Republicans because they were going to add another $20 billion of spending on it. And because they couldn't get the votes, they had to take that off. So they will fund the government till December 3rd at last year's level, and then after the election come back and work on that. They didn't pass a budget this year. They didn't pass one spending bill this year. They really have been unable and inept and incompetent in trying to run the government. We have on our webpage, and I would encourage you all to go to it, mckeon.house.gov/pledge, the pledge of the Republicans in Congress, what we would do if we were staying here to do some work. And just shortly, we have it on a little card that you can see, and they're basically 6 points. The first one is a plan to create jobs and end economic uncertainty. Again, one of the problems with not knowing how to plan for next year for business people and individuals is we don't know what our taxes are going to be January 1st because, like I say, they failed to bring that up for a vote. And to make America more competitive. The second one would be a plan to stop out of control spending and reduce the size of government. Our plan is to go back to spending levels pre-bailout and then start from there. They've increased social spending in the last 2 years, 84%. We want to go back to what the funding was prior to the bailout. And a plan to repeal and replace the government takeover in healthcare. I was reading this morning headlines. McDonald's says because of the healthcare Obamacare plan that was passed, they're going to have to eliminate their health care for their 30,000 employees across the country. There are going to be so many unintended consequences or consequences that come from this health care bill. As you remember, Pelosi said we had to pass it to find out what was in it. Well, we're finding out what's in it. And the promise that they made that if you like it, you'll be able to keep what you have, that is not true. The idea that it would reduce costs, that's not true. We found out it's going to be at least $1 trillion more over the next 10 years. The fourth item on our pledge is a plan to reform Congress and restore trust to the American people to actually do what we say we're going to do, to keep our word. A plan to keep our nation secure at home and abroad. One of the things they passed last night was an intelligence authorization bill. They were totally silent on keeping terrorists out of America, bringing terrorists from Guantanamo into America. You know, remember that was the president's plan to bring the 5 terrorists that planned the 9/11 disaster, to bring them into New York, our most densely populated part of our country, to try them so that we could showcase our American court system. And then he said, but don't worry, if by some fluke they get off, we won't let them go. Let's see, we're going to showcase our judicial system, and then maybe in front of the whole world after the judicial system works, we wouldn't let them go. It just boggles my mind. In our defense bill, our defense authorization bill, we put an amendment in there that said you cannot bring those terrorists into America. Well, last night when they passed the intelligence bill, they were totally silent on that. we will be sure that we don't bring those terrorists into America. And finally, we'll uphold the principles and fight for America's priorities. Again, you can go to mckeon.house.gov/pledge and get the card or the whole 45-page document, including the pictures, if you want more information. But these highlights show all the different things we plan on doing to increase jobs and to build up the economy and get us back to what America was a few years back. I'll be home shortly. Can't wait. Thank you, and bye now.